They have, oh, you already have the title out here, so very excited to hear you, Afsar. Can you guys please have a round of applause?
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Okay, good morning everyone. I will today talk about the success of Parchisi Star, and we'll start with a little bit of background on me. I am the co-founder of Gameberry Labs. Primarily we are a board games company. We are known for Ludo Star, Parchisi Star, and if you look at the total downloads of these games, you'll see around 350 million downloads, 25 million MAU currently. These 5 games are the current games that we have in production, and we are a Bangalore based studio which is around 300 people almost. Before, like, what I'm going to talk about today is about a magic that happened with us. What happened is there was a category of a game, there was a category called Parchis, which was played by a lot of people locally in their neighborhood, but this whole category in itself had a digital presence of around 1 million downloads in a year. And the interesting thing is that this was 2017, internet penetration was high, but yet the category was only 1 million downloads a year, and this scaled to almost, once again, technical glitch. One second, sorry. It's not working. Yeah, so this I was talking about the category in itself. The category was having 1 million downloads a year, and this scaled to around 200 million downloads in the next 5 years, which was very, very drastic in nature, because when you look at the category, you would feel that this category does not have enough potential, there is not enough opportunity as such. But fast forward 5 years, 200 million downloads, I think that is magic in itself. So I would like to explain the magic behind it and what happened literally. But before that, let's start with find a difference game. And if you look at both the screens, do you see a different game, or do you see the same game? Very minor difference. One of them is Ludo, which is the left one, and the right one is Parchisi Star. Parchisi Star has 2 dices, Ludo has 1 dices. There are more number of boxes to move, less number of boxes to move in Ludo. And both these games have a very different origin, very different history, but something is very, very common in that. We'll go to history for that. So we all know Akbar, right? And Akbar loved Ludo. Back then it was known as Chopper, Parchisi, not Parchisi, Parchisi. And he used to play with all his life-sized people, boards and real people. When Britishers came to India, they took Chopper and they took it to Europe. And because they liked it so much, the European whole setup started liking Chopper in general, and they modified it to what they wanted to see in this whole design. So each of these countries, Spain, France, England, everybody had their own version of Ludo modified into it, right? Even Colombia had a different version of Ludo itself, and the name was entirely different everywhere. Now you can guess, if this is the map of colonial history, where would people play Ludo now and where would people play Parchisi? And it's very, very evident, because countries where Spain ruled, the Spanish Empire was where Parchisi grew, and Ludo grew in regions where English Empire was present. I think that is the biggest background of both these 2 games. And what happened over the period of time, it kind of decayed. People played at their home, but they did not play it so much. But when we came into picture in 2017, we modified the whole space and brought it back to their old colonial background that they had. So now people across this whole population, Spanish population, play Parchisi Star, and that is why the 200 million downloads started happening. Right. So there was a history, there was a space, people knew it, but there was nobody taking it back to them in the right form. Now when we started in 2017, we started with saying, okay, we'll build Ludo, because we felt Ludo has a space in India, but we deep down knew that we don't want to monetize it through ads, and we were very adamant and rigid about that we don't want to put ads in our game, and that's why we have to monetize through IAP. And we felt 2017 India is not going to give so much IAP revenue, so we started looking around, and we did a lot of research across stores, and one of the stores, which was Spain's top grossing list, caught our attention, and this was the game changing moment for us, because that game was a purchase game and it was doing a decent amount of revenue, although the downloads were not very huge. So we thought, okay, good, $15,000 a month they're making, we can also use that opportunity and probably build a good Parchisi game, because they were not doing so well in terms of the UI, in terms of the experience and things like that. So this was the real opportunity that we were chasing, and the rest of the things is through research that we eventually found out that this is what the history is, this is what has happened in this space, and why potentially people could play more of Parchisi. So again, just in our research we found out, we tried to compare with, and this is back then, I mean Google Trends, we were trying to compare with Clash of Clans and trying to understand whether it is good enough for in terms of search or not. And we felt, okay, if it is matching up Clash of Clans in Spain, this is good enough to pursue as an opportunity. So we did our first release in February 2027. The objective was we wanted to create a portrait mode Parchisi game, which had a great online experience. I mean, you would go into it and the networks would not disconnect, connect, and all those very nitty-gritty details in it. We wanted to make sure that is absolutely right. The second thing we wanted to make sure was we wanted a social design first game, and we were very happy. We were able to build some basic version, and we thought we are going to build like a super hit game, $15,000 next month, but apparently that did not happen. We were making around we were doing around 500 installs a month, and that was a turning point. I mean, we knew that this could happen. I mean, the magic is not going to happen overnight. So we started looking at the challenges that we had, and if you look at the challenges, it was broadly divided into two parts. One is the product challenges, and the other is marketing or the reach challenges that you see. From the product side, we did not know the rules properly. We did not have the Spanish localization. The experiences, we were not very sure about the experiences, because again, we were not native to Parchisi, neither we were native to Spain, right? So these were the typical challenges that we were facing. Technical challenges we were not facing. We were very sure about our technical abilities. The reach side, we were facing problem that when people were searching Parchisi, we were way below the ranking setup, and there was no reason why people would start word of mouth. So for all these challenges, what we boiled down was, for rules, we'll start with Google search, talk to players. For localization, Google Translate, talk to players. For experience, talk to players. For search engine rankings, we'll invest time in ASO, but again, we'll use a channel where we'll be talking to player and generating the ASO as well, and I'll talk more about that. And the last thing was word of mouth. People should invite people and ask them to play their game, and we wanted it to be more social in nature, so that you go there and start playing with them. So these were the challenges and the solutions that we boiled down. And even in this specifically, if you notice, we used one of the greatest tool on stores, which is store reviews, and this was the only thing that we focused in the first 3 months. What we did first was, because we had 500 installs and reviews were not so much coming, so we created a nudge saying, okay, rate us on Play Store, and the nudge was timed in a very specific manner that when you win certain games, you would see this nudge saying rate us on Play Store. Very simple logic. Nudge created a stream of reviews coming from the players, and when the streams of reviews started coming in, people started posing their problems. They started saying that this is a rule problem, this rule is not right, this localization is wrong. There are instances where we have localized the magic box or the chest that we use in games usually into human chest. The localization was a human chest, and it was completely wrong. The player came back saying that what you have done is completely wrong, you should localize it with this word, and we went back and fixed those things, all those things. So it all came through reviews. So reviews at first helped us in ASO as well. So if you look at this particular screen, this is very interesting. This is our self-posted review at the beginning of the game. The idea was put more of Parchisi word, more of multiplayer words, more of that what feature are we going to build in future, the USP, because the player is going to look at the listing, go to the reviews and start reading what the other player are saying. So we are nudging them again, waiting for more support to add Facebook invites. So we are telling them, okay, what if potentially you should be building, and telling other players what they can expect from it. The same thing we did with more reviews. I mean, if you look at this review, this was written by us again, and we were very specific about it. If you look at here, we are targeting few keywords like Parchis, gratis, online. All this was Google translated. We were trying to learn what people are searching for, and we were just trying to position them inside. Parchis, multi-jugador, online. I had no clue when I was looking at all these things, but we were just posting comments and trying to get more benefit of ASO, because the reviews, what is written in the reviews is valued a lot by store listings as well. So these plantations were doing from a ASO perspective. Second thing we were doing using reviews was trying to fix our game. You look at this, this is 28th February 2017. This is the first review that came in the game, and the review is talking about the rule being wrong. So we talked to that player, trying to understand what is wrong, and then the player told us a little thing, and then the review got updated to another 2 stars by the player. And there was several instances like this where we did not know exactly what the player plays at their home, because there are plenty of variation that people play. So this is again example of how we used reviews to fix our game. This is another example. Again, there is one day where the game was not running well, so the player said terrible lag caused my me to miss the turn. There are one more reason why I placed this in the slide. So what I wanted to highlight in this was our response time was very fast. The player has posted around 9 in the morning. We have like night in 2 a.m. 9 in the morning we woke up and like replied to it. By the evening or by the night we had already fixed that problem. There was a big problem in the game, and we were not able to identify exactly what the issue was. So it took us the whole day, but we kept trying to solve that problem, and we kept doing this again and again. Whenever a player would say that there is this kind of a problem, this token issues and things like that, we were very responsive to it, and that has helped us greatly, I feel. One more example is this beautiful example. So this was the first version where the tokens, although the tokens look very big here, but in the game it is very small. So when you try to click with a fat finger approach, you will not be able to click it. So you will make a lot of mistakes, which for a player is a little bit of demotivating, I would say, that you are somehow telling the player that you are not good enough to play this game. I mean, that's super disappointing for the player, and this is what the player was telling essentially. So what we did was brought a very interesting solution called token selectors, and made a ring around the token selector, which was lot bigger than what the token was. And the interesting thing with this token selector was it was very dynamic in nature. So if you look at, if the tokens are close by, it is auto moving this side and that side rather than being at the center, because then the chances of accidental clicks between two is very less. So if they are even more closer, everything will try to spread itself so that it can maximize the area available for them, so that the click is lot more cleaner from the player side. So again, these are very small details that we were focusing on from an experience perspective, where we just did not wanted to make you feel like a loser at the end of experiencing the game. So while these reviews started benefiting us, because we were getting a lot more user feedbacks, and the user was pumping in again their thoughts, okay, what should be done in the game, what should be improved. We went on to improve that even further, made Facebook pages, made Facebook groups to double down on these talking to player mechanics. One of the very beautiful instance was this. So apparently after 2.5 months we realized that the game rule is different in Spain and different in other parts of the world. So Spain plays in a very different way, and Colombia, or let's say Ecuador, Panama, these countries play in a very different way. And this was told by the players of Colombia, Ecuador. Initially the traffic was coming from Spain, so we never knew that existed. When traffic started coming from Colombia, they started saying, oh, this is not how we play. So what we did was we created two versions of it and called it Classic and Spanish. There is no such version in the world which exists like this. There is no terminology, nothing which exists. It is just made up words by us. We wanted to specifically say to Spanish players that this is for you, and for everybody else this is for you. And this selection is also not done by the user. If you have logged in from Colombia, your selection will be automatically Classic. If you are logged in from Spain, your selection will be automatically Spanish. So you don't have to experience a different game when you first log in into your game itself. So that removed all the rules problem, everything, and people stopped complaining about rules at the after three months. This was another interesting. A lot of people were playing the game while traveling. So when you are traveling or you are doing like a household work, what will happen with you is that you will miss a lot of turns, and because the game is longer, you are either committed to game or you are committed to your household chore, right? So what we did was we said, okay, we don't care if the player is playing or not for some durations. So what will happen is, if you are running out of time and the player is distracted, so obviously you will miss your turn. When you miss your turn, we'll move you to a computer mode, which we call it auto mode. In the auto mode, the player's turn is played by the bot, and you have all the liberty in the world to come back to your game without losing the game. So what people started playing is, they would step out of their game, start doing their work, realize that this just two turn, the game doesn't break because of that. Computer has placed those two turns, they have done certain things, and you can switch off the computer and come back to the game. The beauty of this solution is it allows for multiple things. You can do n number of things while playing the game. Sometimes I have seen people playing the whole game just looking at the screen like this on one side, because they have a busy schedule. They don't want 30 minutes of engagement fully, but they want to know what is happening with me. So it's like an AFK mode which we see in RPG games, but a very different place. The second way where people use this is by chatting. So you get so distracted in chatting with the other person that you lose track of the game. So you start chatting and then you lose, okay, 2-3 turns is gone, you don't care because the other person is interesting for you. You are talking to that person and you're playing the game because of that person, and that creates a lot of memory, that creates a lot of word of mouth. So a lot of our downloads started getting enlarged because of this particular fact, that people were finding interesting people to talk to, they were having interesting conversation. They used to take screenshots of it and post it at places saying, oh, what an interesting conversation I had. Now when such things started happening on Twitter, on Facebook, or the organic downloads even increased further. So these were the few solutions that helped us a lot, and obviously the 5-star reviews then started coming in with all these solutions coming in. So I was talking about the word of mouth thing. When you look at the word of mouth, another thing that we used to fuel word of mouth was the social experience I was talking about. So this is the second screen that you see is a team up mode which nobody had built in Ludo or Parchisi in the world ever, and this was inspired by Clash Royale's team up mode. So they launched a team up mode and we thought, okay, why can't we do this in Ludo? What happens in this is that you as a player team up with one of your friends and you get matched to another team which is another set of people. This was heavily used by people who were married and couples who were not yet married here also, because they had a great pastime. Together they were teaming up and playing a game, chatting between each other, and there was and usually you would find the opponent is also a couple most of the time. So again, this whole experience served a very small cohort of users, but a very interesting and sticky cohort of users. The table codes and the invite setups were super simple. You tap on invite, you can just click on challenge and the invite will go inside game. You don't have to share it on WhatsApp also. So if the other person is online, you will see whether he is in the game, not in the game, in a private game, where is the person, what is the state of that game, so that the decision making is super simple. That if the person is in the game, I will not share an invite to that person, I will send it to somebody else. If the person is in the lobby, this is the right time for me to challenge the other person. So all these small nitty-gritties created the social experience really well. Then we incentivized the social experience using lucky dice as well. Lucky dice was basically you would have 3 dices sent by your friends. Once you send a dice to, let's say, Ajay. Ajay will get a dice, and when Ajay sends a dice, you will get a dice. And when you have 3 dices, you roll those dices, and based on the combination like poker, you will get certain in-game currencies. So people were incentivized not just to invite people, but keep the other person engaged. So you would want Ajay to be there on the game every day because you want that dice, which will help you have the in-game currency. So it was not just invite mechanics, it was an appointment mechanics also from our side, and which resulted in something very, very interesting. Lot of Facebook groups got created because of this. People were not able to ask their friends to send daily dices because they were not so engaged enough. You would, like, imagine you want daily dices, but your friend circle, there is 1 or 2 people who are doing it, but you want a volume of people who can do it for you. So what people started doing is started creating groups and managing those groups. In these groups, naturally the request was always add me for daily dice, add me for daily dice, add me for daily dice. And between these people started becoming friends. They started associating Parchisi with friendships, social things like that. And there was a lot more fueling that we started doing after this. This is the screenshots are new, but the behavior started happening long back. Yes, so that was the second best tool that we used. The third is obviously Google Translate. We started with English local, then Spanish local mid-March, and then eventually moved to Portuguese and Arabic. Why Arabic? Because Spain has a history with Morocco. North Morocco is very close to Spain. North Morocco is Arabic related, has a language of Arabic, and North Morocco also plays Parchisi. So because Spain was playing, North Morocco started playing, so Arabic was needed. So all this resulted into something magical for us. We were having 500 installs in the first month, second month 11,000, third month 3x, 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 and this was the beauty was that this was all Parchisi game combined. Like 6 months into the journey, we were doing more installs than all Parchisi games combined. This is an example where I was telling you that initially it was all Spain at the beginning, but slowly Colombia started picking up in April. Morocco also started picking up. Those spikes that you see are all Colombia, Morocco, and all those countries. And this is just the 6 months of the journey. So for us, this is a big win from our side, because we were able to generate something from thin air. And that year, the graph did not stop. By the end of Christmas, I think we were doing 1.2 million downloads in a month, which was incredible. So the whole Parchisi journey is actually a lot more of the first year journey for us, where we were very deep down into details, trying to make people install our games, and then it was all ripple effect of the social and everything fueling itself together. Next big jump started coming in COVID, when people were all at home. They had no other choice but Parchisi and Ludo Star, and if you see that from April 1.1 million DAU, we were climbing to like 10 million DAU in a span of 30 days, and we were all night releasing servers just to have this capacity fulfilled. And we did nothing, to build anything, but it was just fueled by COVID. People were asking whether people playing. Interesting thing happened in Mexico during COVID time is, before COVID, Mexico was not playing Parchisi, but during COVID, there was an influencer who was playing Parchisi, and she tweeted on Instagram, and it picked up from there. So now Mexico is one of the top markets, and largely the whole fuel was just that influencers, few influencers doing it. And we have seen a lot of influencers. I mean, we have seen for a lot of footballers playing Parchisi, Star specifically, on their free time. You can find it on my Twitter account if you're looking sometimes. I mean, I've posted few of the football players playing Parchisi Star and sharing a screenshot of those. So influencers, even because Parchis is a very household thing, so for them it is like Ludo for us, and anything, like everybody can play Parchisi and Ludo, right? So it's lot deep rooted in their childhood, and like pretty much everybody plays. So that 500 million Spanish population, they are all market of Parchisi, and luckily we are the leaders over there, and it's very difficult to replace us. So the key takeaways is that you don't need a lot of money to grow in the international market. Everything that I was talking about was zero money spent. It was just pure smart choices and patience that we showed from our side. We were looking at numbers. We were saying last week the number was 1000. The idea is to get above to 1000 this particular week, and then the next week we were looking at, okay, what did we reach last week? 1400. This week let's go beyond that, and things like that. So we were just looking at last week's numbers, trying to be bigger than that. That's it. So patience and smart choices, fixing the game helped us a lot. Listening to the players, I think this is paramount. If you are going to international market, and if you're not listening to player, if you're not looking at checking out your reviews every hour, we have launched a new game, and I was just checking reviews sitting outside. Okay, what is happening with that new game? What are people saying about that new game? So that is the kind of obsession that we have with reviews and players. So I think that is really, really important, and not just listening, but deeply understanding. A lot of time players will say, why 5? And you will not understand what does the player mean, but you will have to relate to the context what 5 means from their side, and you have to try to ask them questions, probe them that, okay, do you mean this, do you mean that, do you want this, do you want that, and you will actually get the answer, because they really like somebody spending time with them. Third thing, I think I just cannot lay more emphasis on this. I think most gaming companies in India lack in research. We need to do a lot of research, try to understand your player, try to understand the history of the game, history of the genre, what is happening, why has it evolved, what is the mechanics, why does the mechanics look like that, why does it look like that. There are a lot of internet content, and I mean, if you can leverage that content, you will be in a lot better space. I think that is it from my side today, folks. Small story of magic, but in my words, I don't think there is any magic. It's just details. It's just small details that matters at the end. If you have any questions, I can take those up as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Akshat here. So when you are saying, talking to users and they don't speak your language, like, was that a big challenge?
Absolutely.
So how did you guys solve
Google
it?
Translate.
While on phone?
No. When I am saying talking to players, I think it's not necessary to be on voice calls as such.
Okay.
I mean, now we do voice calls as well. We have a Spanish translator in the company itself, who sits in that call and helps us translate those conversations. But earlier it was just Google Translate. We were using reviews, emails, Facebook comments, whatever they were saying, and trying to be there, and we were wrong a lot of time. I mean, we were saying something, they were understanding something, but from a player's perspective, somebody is trying from the other end. I think that is which is the intent is more important, not being 100% right, because they were checking out the Play Store. They knew that it's an Indian company, that's not a Spanish company, so they were comfortable. They let go of that problem. But if you are solving them and fixing those problems, I think that is what is more important. I mean, not getting it 100% right is not. I mean, we should not obsess on that. So we were wrong in, like, literally we were wrong in communication as well.
Thank you.
Hi, Sudhir here. You said no spends. Did you at some point decide to start spending on UA?
Yeah, we did.
And
We did.
why, when, how?
So the stream of installs were obviously virality driven, and virality has a phase. When the phase started to go away, I think that was the time when we thought, okay, how do we keep it pumping all the time? And then we started spending in UA. I think that helped. Over there also, I have not seen a lot of great returns coming in, because the market is very competitive in terms of CPIs. And board games do not monetize so strongly. I mean, the 10x requirement, the requirement is 10x. So you have to fundamentally change the whole game to actually be able to compete in the US. So right now, 5%, 10% installs come from UA, but not more than that. Even now, I think we are mostly reliant on the organics, word of mouth. Okay, thank you so much, folks. Yeah.
So I'm a designer for Ludo itself. So I have a doubt. So the Ludo is basically a long game, really long game. For example, if you are playing a classic game, it's around 30 minutes.
Yes.
So how do you pull the crowd? Like, how do you make the users to play a longer section?
So see, the assumption over here is that people are looking for a shorter game. You might be looking for a shorter game. People might not be looking for a shorter game. right? What they are looking for is, in my opinion, is we have quick mode which ends up in 5 minutes. We have an arrow mode which again is even faster than a quick mode, but 70% of the user play classic because they want to play a game which is an authentic Ludo game. So the idea is, whether it's my assumption, whether I am thinking what people might be wanting, or is it really true? I think that's where you have to answer yourself. Right, and rest of the mechanics we have deployed in the game. I mean, you can collect dices, you have a lot of meta loops here and there, but I think fundamentally they are looking for a classic game.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. So I just want to pick it from that last question you had. So you talked about UA, right?
Yeah.
So 5 to 10%, for example. So, and you talked about an aspect in the game, right? You let the user have the auto mode when they are not playing the game.
Yeah.
So did you actually come across some fraudulent or suspicious activities while that?
Yes, absolutely.
If yes, then how did you actually, tackle that?
So generally what we have seen is people, and this is very interesting because when we launched auto mode, a lot of people were playing in auto mode now because they wanted to earn XP and they wanted to be doing something in the day, but they wanted to progress in the game. Now you'll feel that this is really foolish. You are not playing the game, but you want to level up in the game. It does not make sense at all, right? I think that was one of the big fraudulent activity that I started seeing, and the reason why we wanted to curb more of that activity was we wanted more players to play real players. I think that is the fundamental issue with that. And otherwise we don't have a problem with it because you want to level up, you level up, no problem. I don't have any problem with that because that is not affecting another player. It is just affecting your journey and you want to do that. So it's okay from my perspective. But I think fraudulent activity, if it starts to create the experience of the other player, I think that is where we really value it, that we don't want to do those activities. And then we have deployed a lot of methods like removing the XP from that setup. So after few turns, your XP drops will stop to happen. So discouraging players from keep doing that all the time. I think those things have helped us. Then there was some bugs where you can start 2 games in the game and together because of that auto thing. So we eventually figured out that people are using that as well. So we stopped those also. So we keep investigating things and try to solve the mechanics from our side. I mean, deploy a system which discourages them to do that all the time. I think that's what.
But you would not change anything with the auto mode, right?
Yeah, we will not change.
So
Because I think it solves a lot of problems.
Thank you so
so,
much.
I mean, sorry, due to time constraint, I cannot. You guys please connect separately and get.
Thank you so much, folks. I think it was a pleasure talking to you all.
We have 2 more exciting game studios talking. So we have. Can we have the? So the next talk is building gaming from non-traditional hubs, and we have 2 companies presenting this. Dipender from Dunali and Jim and Vinayak from Dynamic Next. So let me call Dipender on the stage, and then after that Jim and Vinayak will talk about their game.